The groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter. I'm not buying it. It's supposed to be very warm here this weekend. So I'm going to help manifest an early spring by crocheting some spring projects. Some of these projects are easy and some of them are hard. So I am giving myself a little bit of a challenge here as well. And my dog is attacking me again. May. Ah. Oh my goodness. Why does she always attack me when I'm trying to film? Okay. Maybe I just ignore her. She'll go away. So I've been really inspired lately by these pastel colors behind me. I know I have to do something with them. My goal is to find a couple cute spring patterns that you can either make as a gift, maybe make for a market, or just make for yourself to get you in the spring mood. All of these patterns have free YouTube tutorials that I will be linking below. I'm going to start with a pattern that I think is the easiest, and I'm going to end with the hardest one. So wish me luck. It is a pattern that I've wanted to try for some time. I've been a little bit intimidated, but video tutorials are where it's at. So I know I can do it. I just have to sit down and try. I'm going to be rating how long it took me, if the pattern is beginner friendly, if I would make it again, and how much of a spring vibe does it really have. Okay, the first pattern I am starting with is a bee pattern. And if you are a new crocheter, or even if you've been crocheting for a long time, you have probably made a bee. They're pretty common. But you guys, this was my first bee that I tried to make. I didn't even get as far to put the wings on because I was just not happy with how the shape turned out. I don't know why, but when I do 6 single crochets to start my bees, they get kind of pointy. So I'm going to try a bee for my first spring pattern, but I'm going to be starting it with 8 single crochets in the magic ring instead of 6, and I'm going to see if it can turn out not pointy. This one, it's not bad. It's just, it wasn't what I was going for. I wanted more of a flat bee, and it turned out pretty pointy. So instead, this is now my dog's toy. And believe it or not, she goes for it. Believe it or not, oh, okay. I'm going to throw it for her. Believe it or not, that toy has held up. My crochet plushie has held up to my dog playing with it. So I'm very surprised because I thought she would rip it apart in 2 seconds and it would not last, but it has lasted surprisingly. So I'm going to be making this bee, and I have not selected the colors yet. So let me take a look. Hi, May. I think for my bee, I'm going to be going with these 2 colors. They're both Parfait Plush. And this purple, this light purple lavender, I got a long time ago, and it is not my favorite. I like the color. It's just, this was like one of the first batches I got of Parfait Plush, and it's just not very soft. So I do want to get rid of it. So I'm actually going to try to use this in quite a few projects of my spring projects. This color I love, and it's called Grapefruit. And I'm not trying to get rid of this. I just really, really love it. So I was really excited to get this color, and it's so soft. Like all the new Parfait Plush, I feel like is so soft versus some of the older stuff I still have. It's just kind of, sometimes it's like stiff and rough like this purple. So we're going to start off with the bee. I am going to modify the pattern just a little bit. The one that I'm linking below does start with 6 single crochets in a magic ring. However, whenever I do that, I don't know why, but it gets pointy, and I want a flat bee. So that's my goal. Make a flat bee in spring colors. And yeah, come along with me and see if we can do this. Guys, so we are into the bee. I did go with the lavender and the grapefruit colors, which I am loving. However, like I said at the beginning, this lavender is old and it sucks. Honestly, it is awful to crochet with. It is stiff, it squeaks. You guys know the squeakiness. So I am rethinking the whole, I'm going to use this to get rid of it. And you know what? I just don't think that's worth it. So I think instead I'm going to make the bee out of this light purple, and then I'm probably going to go to one of my other colors just because it is not fun to crochet with this light purple. I have heard that if you do get some bad skeins, you can contact Premier and they will send you a new one. I don't know how true that is, and I have not tried it, but I wish I would have for some of those skeins that I got quite a long time ago, because they are just so hard to crochet with and they just don't like glide like this one does. So I have modified the pattern just a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to do 8 single crochets to start instead of 6, and I'm going to go 1 less increase. So I think it goes up to 3 single crochets, 1 increase. I'm just going up to 2 single crochets, 1 increase, because I really like the size. So I have my first stripe here done, and I think it's going to be a really cute size. I'm excited to see where it goes from here, and I'll update you when I'm a little bit further along. Okay, my bee is complete. I am so excited to show it off. This first spring pattern that I tested went really well. It was also the easiest pattern of the bunch, so I expected it to be pretty easy and pretty simple to go through. I followed a YouTube tutorial by Katie Being Creative. It's her bee pattern tutorial. I did modify it slightly. So cute, right? It does match my shirt. So, you know, got the spring vibes going. What I changed is, instead of going to 3 single crochets, 1 increase, I only went to 2 to make it a little bit smaller. And then I only did 2 color changes instead of 3. I really am loving the chunky, chonky Amigurumi plushies. So anytime I can make something just a little bit chubbier, I am all about it. So my bee turned out so good compared to that first bee that I tried that came out so pointy. I was so disappointed by that first bee, because I had been hearing what a great first project a bee is. It looked simple. And then I did 6 single crochets in a magic ring. Even though I don't do a magic ring, I do the chain too. But I did 6 single crochets and it turned out pointy. And so I'm like, you know, I hate that. So this time I went with 8 single crochets, not in a magic ring, because I don't do that. I do the chain too. And it turned out flat. Like, I just love it. It is so cute. And I did slightly change up the placement of the wings. I just like how they're connected and at the top. So super simple, very fun to make, definitely high on the spring vibes for this bee. So I would rate this bee pattern as would make again. This is a winner. This is high on my list for spring patterns. It's a great market make. It's simple, easy, kind of brainless in a way. We don't need to think a whole lot as we go through the pattern, which I am a fan of. I don't know if that's going to be the case as I go through these other patterns, but for this one, yeah, I could definitely turn my brain off a little bit and just crochet, which there is something wonderful about doing that. So my next plushie that I'm going to try to make for spring is a giant tulip. This giant tulip pattern is a free tutorial on YouTube, and it is by Mine Crochet. So I'm going to attempt to make this giant tulip. My second spring pattern is officially finished. It took me about an hour and a half to make, and here it is. Yay! It is a giant tulip that did not turn out very giant because I did not use as big of yarn as the person used in the video, but I still think it turned out really cute. I used Parfait Plush and then Bernat Blanket for the stem because I had some left over. So I love the spring colors. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, but I'm very pleasantly surprised with how my giant tulip turned out. It took me an hour and a half to make it. I felt like this pattern was definitely beginner friendly. The video tutorial doesn't have any words, but she definitely goes through each stitch and writes out the pattern on the screen. So I thought it was very, very easy to follow. And you're pretty much making the top and then you kind of pinch it and then sew it together. And there is a little bit of sewing to sew on the leaf and then to sew the stem to the flower. So a little bit more sewing with this one than on my bee pattern, but overall still did not take very long to make. This one definitely is bringing the spring vibes. I am so excited to see some snow melting outside. So I'm ready. I'm so ready to plant some flowers and see colors outside. So this definitely gets me in the spring mood. I love the lavender color and I kind of want to make more of them just to have like a little bouquet of tulips. I think that would be so cute. Now 2 out of 4 of these spring crochet patterns are complete. The first 2 were very easy to follow. There wasn't a whole lot of pieces. So I know I'm giving myself more of a challenge coming up. The next pattern that I am going to be doing is a cute bunny pattern by Stitch by Scott. And this one also has a free YouTube tutorial that I'm going to be following. It does have a little bit more to it. There's some flowers to sew on, but I think it's going to have a very spring theme with a bunny. And I think it's going to be really cute. So come with me as I crochet a cute spring bunny. My next spring pattern is finished. I am so excited about this one. She turned out ridiculously cute. So here she is. Yay! So this is the cute bunny pattern by Stitched by Scott. And I really enjoyed making this pattern. It is way different than the bee and the tulip that I had just made. So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. I had previously tried to make a bunny as one of my very first projects last summer, and honestly, it did not turn out well. I wasn't really comfortable with like sewing different pieces on as far as like proportions and making things symmetrical. So this time around, my bunny went so much better, and I'm so happy with how she turned out. So this bunny took me probably about like 2.5 to 3 hours, I would estimate. There are quite a few pieces to make. So you make the head, you make the body, the arms, the ears. That all takes a while. And then to make the dress and all the individual flowers, I want to say probably about 3 hours total to make her. I would say this bunny is beginner friendly, except for maybe the dress might be a little tricky and to make a flower crown. I did make a couple modifications compared to the pattern. So instead of sewing the flowers directly onto the bunny like she does, I decided to make it removable and make more of like a headband situation for the bunny so that I can take it off. I just like to have options, and I thought it would be cute if you switch up her outfits, like if I made different outfits, but then I wouldn't be stuck with certain flower colors for the flower crown. I also really struggled with making the flowers for this bunny with the instructions in the video, so I did change it up a little bit to better match what I can do. I am still cannot do a magic ring for anything, so I instead did the chain 2 method and did 5 single crochets and then did another round to make the petals. So that always works better for me when I'm trying to make a flower. I also sized down to Parfait Chunky for the flowers. I love Parfait Plush. That's what I used for the bunny and for the dress. But whenever I try to make details with Parfait Plush, it just seems too thick to me for the detail part. So I love Parfait Chunky for adding on the details. So yeah, I'm super happy with how she turned out. She is high on the spring vibes, definitely getting me in the spring spirit. And I would make this again. I actually love the fact that you can just make one bunny and then make some different outfits for it. I think that makes it really fun. I do feel like it's beginner friendly, except for me, like I said, except for maybe the dress and the flower crown is a little bit trickier, but you could always just do the bunny for now and then add on to it later when your skills are a little bit better. But overall, I felt like the video was very thorough. It went slow. It showed you everything, which is really nice. I tend to just like fast forward to when the directions are on the screen, the patterns on the screen, and then just stop it there. But it is always nice to have the option to go back and look at the video if you're ever not sure of something that is in the pattern. So I think that's really helpful just to hear them go through it and explain it. Sometimes it clicks. Like for this dress part, you make the skirt and then you add on the bib part to the dress. I've never actually made a dress before, so this was my first time trying to attempt a dress, and it actually was not as hard as I thought. So, yay, so it went really well. As far as being market friendly, I feel like there is a little bit too much to this bunny to make it market friendly. I don't know if I would want to make a lot of these and take them to a market just because of the time involved. If you were just going to do the bunny itself, I think that would be market friendly. But if you're going to be adding lots of details, clothes, accessories, we know that all takes a long time to make those things as well. So I think high on spring vibes, but as far as market friendly, if you're just going to make the bunny, yes. If you're going to make the full thing, I would say probably not, but this would make an awesome gift for somebody. Or if you're going to list it on Etsy and maybe do like a custom order, something like that, I think this bunny would be perfect for that. I think my favorite part about this bunny is just her big like floppy ears. I think they're so cute, and I love the eyes on here. I'm a big fan of not doing just the black eyes. I just love more of like the expression and just like, I don't know, I just love the look of colored eyes. So I choose to almost do all my plushies with colored eyes if I can. Up next, we have our very last spring pattern that I'm going to be testing and making, and that is a crochet dragon by Crochet by Jenna. She has a tutorial, a free YouTube tutorial that I'm going to be following. I have never attempted to make a dragon before, so I am excited to see how difficult it is, if I run into any issues. I tried previewing the video a little bit, and she did mention like triple bobble stitches, or maybe that wasn't even it. I don't know. It's just some term I had never heard of. Now I know you might be thinking dragons aren't really spring, and that is true. However, I wanted a pattern that would push me a little bit, that I was excited about, and I thought a dragon would just be perfect. So I don't know, maybe you let me know below. Is a dragon spring themed? Maybe there's something about, I don't know a lot about dragons, like that it like is like, I don't know, renewing or beginnings, or maybe I'm just completely off track on that and dragons are the complete opposite and they don't mean anything to do with spring. So I didn't make this up. Okay, I just Googled it and it says, many dragons are often associated with themes of renewal, flowers, and changing weather, making them iconic for the spring time of year. So I'm not that far off with making a dragon as a spring themed pattern. And these are the colors I'm going to go with for my dragon. I have this really pretty chartreuse, which is so fun to say, color from Parfait Plush. It's like a pale green color. I'm also going with dragon. Dragon, see what I did there? Wait, yeah, I think it's called dragon fruit. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's not called I think it's called grapefruit, actually, grapefruit. So we're going grapefruit. I thought dragon fruit, but that's not it. And then I have a little bit left of this. It is Premier Basics Chenille Brights. It's like one of those mixed colors. And I'm thinking about doing the dragon in the green, the wings in this grapefruit color, and then maybe doing the spikes in this color. So this is going to kind of be my color palette as I make my dragon. And I'm going to check in with you guys when I am done with it and give kind of a final wrap up of all the patterns. My last spring themed plushie is finished and here it is. Yay! This, I'm actually gonna like set it on my shoulder here. This is the Crochet Dragon from Crochet by Jenna, and this was my fourth and final testing spring patterns project that I decided to tackle. So this one turned out so cute. I just love the colors that I chose. I think the wings are so unique, how there's kind of like this little detail where it kind of curves, and then to have like the little stripes in there. I'm so happy with how this one turned out. It took me probably about 3 hours. I didn't keep too close of an eye on the clock as I was crocheting it, but I want to say it took me about 3 hours to make this, give or take a little bit. And this one was so fun. I think this was my favorite pattern out of all of them to make, not just because it was the last one or it was challenging, but because I just love how it turned out. I love the details of it. And yes, it was challenging, but as I was crocheting it, it wasn't hard to do. So Jenna always does a great job with her tutorials. If you've done one of hers before, you know this. They are so slow. She goes over everything, explains everything so clearly. When I was first starting, I did her strawberry turtle pattern, and I remember just feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Like so much success after I watched one of her videos and did one of her patterns. So highly recommend any patterns by Crochet by Jenna and doing her tutorials if you are a beginner and looking for a good tutorial to follow. As far as being beginner friendly, I would say that this dragon is beginner friendly. It is no sew, which is really nice. Sometimes I actually prefer to sew things on because I feel like they are sometimes a little bit more secure. So originally these wings are just kind of like a little bit more floppy, so I decided to sew them down to make them a little bit more secure. And you guys, I did say there was a triple bobble stitch, I thought, and it really was a triple bobble stitch, which is something I've never even heard of before. I didn't know that existed. So the ears are actually the triple bobble stitches, kind of similar to like a double crochet in a way. But yeah, something that I've never done before. And Jenna just does such a nice job of breaking it down, making it simple so that you can be successful. As far as spring vibes, I feel like with this color palette, it is high on the spring vibes. I wouldn't necessarily think dragon spring, but now we know they do go together. So I'm going to say yes, this is high on the spring vibe. As far as being a market friendly, it does take you a little bit longer to make. However, I feel like you could make a couple of these for a market and it would be market friendly. Just know that you're going to invest a little bit more time than, say, obviously like a smaller plushie. I wouldn't want to make a ton of these to prepare for a market just because you don't really know what will sell. But I could see this being a really good, like, eye-catching plushie for someone to come over to your booth and check it out. I also think this would make a really good plushie to sell on Etsy to accept custom orders. I know I said that for the bunny as well. I just think there's so many ways you could customize this dragon for somebody, and that might be a really good option to put it on Etsy and just say custom orders are welcome. All right, can we get them all in one shot? I'm gonna try. So we have my crochet dragon, my giant tulip, my bee, and my bunny. And here we are. Here are all my spring patterns that I made. I am so happy that I made these and pushed myself to try some new patterns. Yes, this is not comfortable, so I'm going to take this down and try to read it. All right, so here we go. Number 4 on my list of the patterns I made was the giant tulip. While it was great, it was definitely like on the simpler side, and while it's cute, I don't know if I would want to make a ton of these, but having one is really nice. I would maybe make a couple more, but probably not a whole lot more than that. I don't know, as far as like listing them on Etsy, I probably wouldn't do that. But if you had a spring market, I could see the giant tulip being a good plushie to bring for that. Number 3 on my list that I made was the bee. The bee is so cute. I really do love this bee I made, and I'm so happy that I finally made a chunky one. I think this one is probably my pick for the best market make out of all 4, just because there's a little bit more to it as far as like the details. It's so cute, and it's really easy and simple to make, and it doesn't take that long. So number 3 is the bee. Okay, now this last one, so it's between my number 2 pattern and my number 1 pattern. It is hard to pick because they are both wonderful patterns and I like both of them a lot. I'm actually going to go my number 2 pattern pick as the bunny. While she is absolutely adorable and I'm so happy I made her and tried another bunny, yeah, I look at her and I just know the work that went into her. And sometimes it's not even like how long it takes you, but like the feelings you have as you crochet it, like you kind of just want to be done. And I kind of got to that point with this bunny where I'm like, I just want to be done. And it's like, oh no, I'm not done. I still have this much more to make. So while I love her, she did come in number 2 for me. That means number 1, probably no surprise, right, is my crochet dragon. Honestly, when I first saw crochet dragons, I didn't think I would want anything to do with that. Normally, that's just not like my style or my vibe, if I have a vibe. But I genuinely so enjoyed making this dragon, and I'm so glad that I made it. I want to make more. I think it's so cute. It did take me a little bit longer to make it. However, it didn't feel it in the moment. It didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this to be done, or like, how many more rows do I have? I was just ready to go. So sometimes you have to just go on the feeling that you have as you're making it versus actual time that it takes you, and judge that if you want to make it again in the future. All right, that wraps up our free spring pattern review today. I hope this was helpful to go through actually making some of the patterns with me versus just seeing a long list of patterns. I think those videos are great too, but actually going through the pattern and testing it, trying it out, I think is really helpful if you want to go ahead and then make it yourself, just so that you know what you're in for. All of the patterns I tested today, I would recommend. And just remember, they have free video tutorials on YouTube that you should go watch so that you can make one for yourself. All right, if you haven't yet, I would love for you to submit. Can't say it. Okay, try again. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that you can see me again in my next video, and I will see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.